I'm going to pontificate for a minute. About why, basically some of the verbiage that's really been pissing me off. About before we dive into like the actual like meat and potatoes of what these bills involve. You've colloquially heard them referred to lately as the voting rights bills. Well, if newsflash for anybody that doesn't quite understand, voting rights have been ensconced since the 1960s through civil rights legislation. Every American has an equal right to show up at the ballot box and cast their vote. There's nothing on the books legally saying that you can't do that. So the narrative built simply by calling these things voting rights legislation, the voting rights bill, it's disingenuous, first of all, because it doesn't allow any new rights at all. You still have the same exact rights as you do now. There's no difference really there. There are differences throughout how you can and cannot vote and who is allowed to, as far as our social media alarm is going off. We're going to reach around and see if we can silence that real quick. Boop, 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 boop. I don't know how to shut this off. I'm sorry, buddy. Restart. Done. So, when we talk about the voting rights legislation, we're just colloquially referring to them as voting rights legislation. But what we're really about to talk to is a complete another, not revamp, but rebuild of our entire voting system nationally. And for the first time ever in history, we're entertaining the concept of elections being run on a national level instead of a state level, which is as it's prescribed in the U.S. Constitution. All states are responsible for the manner in which they run their elections. Thank you, sir. This legislation that we are about to talk about nationalizes all that and removes some, if not all, the power of the state in how they run their elections. It pulls that responsibility away from the states and puts it towards the national federal government.
Yes.
Which, if there's any indication of most things the Fed does, I have a feeling that they're it was going off, the alarm. I figured out how to shut it off. It's not an iPhone, and I'm learning how to operate an Android. Just kidding, because my new phone will be an Android of some kind.
I'm here for it.
So, but yeah, as we get into these voting rights bills, know that they are not about voting rights. They're about the usurpation of the right of the state to run their own elections.
And that's why I called them voting bills, right?
Yeah,
it's not voter right bills. Because
I just say colloquially, that's how people are hearing them these days. And I think, overhaul. I think it was the way Tim Pool's been putting it. He's been really trying to hammer on don't call it a voting rights bill. Call it a voting reform bill or a voting overhaul or something like that. Because that's what it really is. The first time we're ever actually entertaining the concept of the national government running elections, which is fucking insane to think about.
And that's what I have written here. Yes, I think that the conversation on if and what to do about elections is totally legitimate. You know, however, I don't feel that, but I'm thinking that centralizing anything anymore is a bad idea. I do not think that is the solution to anything. Is centralizing anything? Yeah.
Centralization bad.
Yes, it's not a good idea.
Yes.
Of anything we've had over the last 2 years.
Decentralize everything,
and that's why I said centralizing anything anymore is because over the last 2 years we've seen so many things be ceded to the executive on the state and the federal level that to cede anything more to them is a mistake. It's an enormous mistake, especially when you're talking about something like elections, as we talked about earlier, and you were just talking about, is constitutionally designated to the states. It is up to you as a state to decide how your election is run.
We tell you the day, and that's about it.
Yes.
Everything else is up to you.
I did say to Josh Keaton in a private conversation during the 2020 election, so I cannot believe there isn't some type of guidelines for, like, you got to at least do this, you know. But
you know what's funny too is I would have 2 years ago, I would have agreed with the idea of the federal government publishing guidelines
Yeah.
about, hey, here's states, here's a template at which we think as a federal government is a good way to run a clean election. Here you go. You can, it's there if you want. If not, it's cool, whatever.
Like they did the red
Until
flag
COVID.
laws.
Until COVID is really what did it. Because when you think about all the mandates we've been subject to and all the lockdowns we've been subject to, very little of it has been mandate from the federal government.
Right.
It's been guidelines from federal government agencies
That then get mandated by the states.
And so 2 years ago, I would have thought that was a great idea, just like you would have entertained that idea with Josh
Right.
Keaton. Today, going hard fucking no, you stay out.
Yeah.
This is my shit. I live in this state. I have to deal with my idiot governor. You don't. Stay out. I don't want him getting any more ideas from you.
Yeah.
Okay? Everything you say, he parrots. Shut up. Go away. I don't want to think about you. Let me worry about my own state and how we run our own business.
So I have an article somewhere. I think it's from the LA Times. That is kind of a rough explainer of what is in these two bills, right? It's H.R. 1 and H.R. 4. And H.R. 1, I believe, is...
Used to be known as the For the People Act.
And I think that it's like the
Now it's
Voting Rights Act, known as H.R. 4, or the John Lewis Rights...
the John Lewis
Voting
bill.
Rights Advancement Act is what it is called. So this is from this article. Do you want me to send you this article?
Tell me what it is real quick.
It
I'll
is
find it.
LA Times Explainer, the differences between the two voting rights bills.
Okay.
I also hate the word explainer.
It's kind of like fact sheet.
I
You go
hate it.
fuck
Here's
yourself.
an explainer. You
Oh
know?
shit! I'm doing it on the laptop, not on the computer.
Here's just a quick explainer. I hate it. I hate that.
It's so condescending. Is what it is.
You're talking about fucking centralizing voting rights. Like you're talking about centralizing the way that elections are going to be done. It's not an explainer. This isn't something that should be done in just 2 minutes. You know, I'm using this as a tool to talk about it for a half hour. Like this should not be done in 2 minutes on a fucking article. You know, there you go. Okay.
No, go ahead and call me Jamie. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
So let's see
The difference between the two voting rights bills.
What's in the bills? H.R. 1's number shows it's important to Democrats, also known as the For the People Act. It became H.R. 1 because it was the first bill on the House floor after Democrats retook the chamber in 2018 election. Also, this has been on the floor before. So
Yes.
the bill does a little about a lot of topics. It changes the way people vote by automatically registering every eligible citizen, which I believe means like when you turn 18, you just are automatically registered, guaranteeing mail and early in-person voting options in every state, and in effect neutering voter identification laws. I think it outlaws voter identification, makes it completely illegal.
Voter ID is racist, bro.
Yeah, voter ID is racist as fuck.
Don't forget.
The legislation would also establish bipartisan commissions to draw the lines for legislative districts and require redistricting not favor either major party. This provision has the potential to create scores of newly competitive districts, and supporters say it would help counter the partisan polarization in the House. Okay, so let's start here for a second, right? Because we covered, I'm pretty sure, within the last 4 years, well, we've been doing the show for 4 years, so within the last 2 years,
Damn.
the Supreme Court found and ruled that gerrymandering, which is the drawing of districts within the state, right, is meant to be a partisan venture.
Indeed.
They ruled that.
It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be partisan, right? It is supposed to incentivize you to get more people within the legislature so that they have the then ability to draw the districts, right? And it still is on a bipartisan to the effect that one party has a majority on the board, but there still has to be members of the other party on that board.
Yep.
And so this is going to probably take one member away from that board or add a member and make sure that it's split 50-50 on who's on that board, right? So again, or immediately, we have an issue because this particular issue on the gerrymandering has already been decided. The federal government already said this is how it's supposed to be. It's designed this way. And that was before, I'm fairly certain it was before Brett Kavanaugh was on the court, which means that it's before Amy Coney Barrett was on the court. So that was still when you're still at a fairly split court. It's not the conservative majority that they're talking about now. You know, that means RBG is still in the court. Like it's still split.
And
then they decided. Why don't you look up real quick when they
who was
decided?
that?
Just so, and then we'll know because RBG died last year, and Brett Kavanaugh was in the year before. So
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every